Thank you. So, yeah, really, really warm welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for gathering with us this evening. Whether you're here live or watching the recording, we're really, really, Samir and I are really, really grateful that you're here to share, to listen what we have to offer, and also we really would like this to be a reciprocal call. So the first half of the call will be us sort of talking at you, letting you know our plans for Elephant, what it's all about, and then we're really hoping to have a more interactive second half. So please, a couple of things just before we start. There will be some quite emotive material that we're talking about. We know that these experiences can be really challenging for some people. Maybe not even the experiences, but how they are received and perceived and supported in inverted commas in the Western system. So if it, please prioritize your own well-being. If at any time you feel that you need to leave, please do take care of yourself. We won't be able to offer one-to-one support, but we will be sharing some support links after the call with the follow-up. So just really wanted to emphasize that. So our intentions for this call are twofold, really. So to share with you the plans, we wanted to be transparent from the beginning. We've set up Elephant as a community interest company. It's a not-for-profit. It's a big risk, but those of you that know me know that I'm kind of used to that. Um, and then the second half of the call, as we say, we really kind of want to hear from you as to what you feel, if anything, might be really helpful for you to receive from being part of this community. So we're here to learn as well. It's a discovery call on both sides. Um, so I guess just before we really get going, we're going to be sharing some slides for the first maybe half an hour, 40 minutes. But before we do that, Samir and I will introduce ourselves. I don't know if you want to go first, Samir.
Yeah. Hi everyone. I know some of you, a few of you from the Kundalini Collective. So welcome all of you, and nice to meet the people I haven't met before. Um, Really brief background because I'm going to speak more about myself later. I worked with Katie a few years ago on a couple of films called A Call to Awakening, which some of you may have seen. And prior to that, with a gentleman called Alan is on the call, we started a community support group for people going through Kundalini awakenings called the Kundalini Collective. And in a way, this project is combining both of those ideas, filmmaking and the idea of these transcendent experiences.
Thanks, Samir. And I know you're going to be sharing a bit more of your journey later on. So, Samir is the film buff, so we'll be sharing about the documentary plans, and I'm going to be sharing more about the community. So, for those of you that don't know me, I'll share a little bit just to give context about kind of why I'm so passionate about this. And for those of you that have heard this story lots of times, I apologize. I'll try and keep it brief. But so I'm Katie Mottram, and I am really passionate about this subject. And I've been sort of reflecting on this for quite a few years about where this started for me, and really started from birth. My mother had a very profound experience when I was born, which was pathologized, and I didn't realize at the time, but I was just a very sensitive child. I was very intuitive, and I could kind of feel that there was more going on within my household that was being spoken about. So I was quite hyper vigilant, and I used to have experiences when I was really young, which would kind of make me existential question a lot, like who am I? Why am I here? What is life all about? I used to feel like I didn't fit in anywhere, but I used to lay in bed at night and kind of have like experiences of dimension shifts. My corners of my bedroom would move in and out, but it didn't scare me. I was just really curious, like about space-time reality, until I went to school and, realized this didn't fit in with the social norms. It wasn't something that I could really talk about. And so I pushed it down. And then when I was a teenager, my mum had another very profound experience, which led to a suicide attempt, a very serious suicide attempt. And at that point onwards, she was hospitalized, sectioned, had electroconvulsive therapy, and I sort of watched, the the fracturing really of my family, the impact of that on my family. So repressed my own trauma and my own experiences as a result of that. I just became really afraid of my sensitivities. And so I lived very split from teenage years. I went to work in the mental health system, which was probably the worst place I could have been to feel a sense of belonging and safety. Um, and yeah, just repressed that authentic side of myself more and more. And then in my 30s, I'd kind of had a succession of life crises and um, made an attempt to take my own life. I just couldn't kind of handle it anymore. And that led to, I guess, kind of a near-death experience, but then culminated in a spontaneous, well, that's something else I wanted to caveat actually before we started. We are languaging these experiences because that's all we can do. But as we probably all know on this call, language is very problematic. We can't categorize these experiences. We don't want to. It's not helpful. So some of the terminology will use different terminology, which we'll cover a little bit on the slides, and a lot of you will be familiar with these terms, but just really wanted to caveat that we're trying to put language to experiences that are beyond language, are ineffable, they're not languageable really. So it's more of a felt sense experience. So I just wanted to really say that. Where was I? So yeah, I had a spontaneous awakening in my early 30s, realized that I'd been very disconnected from my body really throughout my life. And kind of came crashing into my body at the same time, had this huge expanded experience of expanded consciousness, and was experiencing telepathy, seeing energies, all whilst I was working in the mental health system. And I always say it was really only the fact that I knew what not to say that prevented me from having my experiences pathologized. So I kind of consider myself very lucky in that respect. Due to my experiences, I just started really like diving into research in this field. I started volunteering for the UK Spiritual Crisis Network, realized there was no transcultural kind of collaboration going on, and so co-founded the International Spiritual Emergence Network in 2015 with a Hungarian colleague, Rosalia. And then in 2017, during a meditation, I just kind of downloaded this I guess a diamond impulse, this real divine led will impulse to start a peer campaign called Emerging Proud. And it came through me. It wasn't me, it came through me that I had to do this. Like this was my life mission. This was kind of why I was here. It was like a compulsion. And it's called Emerging Proud, and it was for people who felt that their crises were not mental illness. I don't like using that word. But they were deeply meaningful experiences, and I invited people to share their stories. And within 10 months, people had kind of run with it, and Emerging Proud existed in 10 countries. And I was just so overwhelmed. I had no idea what I'd started. I felt like I'd pushed this ball down the mountain, and there's no way of stopping it. So I've learned a lot from what I didn't do so well, I guess, in Emerging Proud, and really feel like the Elephant Collective, is a culmination of the work I've done and the work Samir has done, and Alan. Alan, I'm really grateful to Alan, who is a friend of both Samir and I, who introduced us and we met through the Emerging Proud campaign, and it feels very synchronistic now that we're kind of all coming together. And I think, you know, this new paradigm we're coming into, it's all about collaboration. None of us have the answers alone. We need to come together. We've all got pieces of the puzzle and wisdom to bring. And that's where we're coming from with this project. And what I've learned is I definitely don't want to be doing anything alone. So, yeah, so that's kind of my background. I've just finished a 3-year MSc, where I ended with a research study in Is There Meaning in Madness, which in a nutshell, the results were absolutely there is. Very profound meaning in what gets called madness. I mean that in a mad pride type way. These words are being, you know, kind of yeah, just reclaimed and reconstituted, aren't they? So yeah, so my personal passion is normalizing these experiences and creating spaces in society where these experiences can be safely held and doulaed, where people who are experiencing really profound, deep, expanded states, as is happening within the psychedelics community at the moment, but kind of expanding that out to anybody experiencing expanded states, so that the wisdom that's trying to come through us when we're in these processes can be really harnessed, because we believe that that is absolutely necessary for the evolution of the world right now. So I'm also a board member of Soteria, who are starting a big research study next year into the need for alternative crisis spaces other than psychiatric hospitals. So that's where my kind of real passion and focus is. And you know, I don't want people to go through what my mother had to go through, and so many people go through. So yeah, that's a bit about me. I know Samir will share more as we go. So I'm going to screen share. Samir, have I forgotten anything? Please do.
No, no, it sounds good so far.
And yeah, just to let everyone know, as I'm screen sharing, I won't be able to watch the chat. So if you have any questions, please do hold them for after the break, where we're just gonna, yeah, hopefully have more interactive session once we've done this initial bit. So I'm going to screen share. So please let me know if that doesn't work. Can you see that okay?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you. Okay, so yeah, just to give you a bit of idea about what we're going to do within the next hour and a half or so. So as I said, we are going to just talk at you for the first part. We're going to let you know what the Elephant Collective is all about, why we're doing it, yeah, how the name came about, that kind of thing. Then we're going to I'll share with you the plans for the community platform. Details and invite you to join. We're very much in early stages at the moment, so this is kind of a beta version of the community site, and it's intended to be a really kind of organic evolving process as we get feedback as well from our community about what people would like, really. And then Samir is going to let you know the plans for the documentary. Again, really early stages, but we've got a little teaser to show you. And then we're going to go for a quick break. And when we come back, we will go to small breakout groups for just a small amount of time, 10 minutes or so. So you can have a chat. If that doesn't feel comfortable, feel free to take an extra long break. If you want to leave the call after we've explained everything, that's absolutely fine. Please do whatever just feels comfortable and safe for you, or if you want to come back for the big discussion in afterwards where we or you want to feedback anything about your thoughts or what you would like to get from this afterwards, that's also fine. So please, yeah, just do whatever feels right for you. I am going to hand to you now, Samir, for a bit of background.
Yep. Okay, so hi everyone. Again, my name's Samir. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about why we're doing this, what the elephant is, and how we got here. So our vision, as it says in the slide, is to shift the Overton window. And what that means is the Overton window is whatever is acceptable to talk about politically or socially at any time. Now, with these experiences, which we're going to use the word non-ordinary experiences or non-ordinary transformative experiences, it might seem that it's not possible to make these experiences more mainstream. However, if you look at the last 20 years with the psychedelic movement, or the last 50 years with the gay rights movement, or even if you look at what's been going on in America with the UAP or UFO experience being brought into Congress and being talked about politically, we believe that these experiences are growing in number and so important, or the implications are so important, that we need to get these experiences talked about in the mainstream and their implications. So our methodology is to create content or a film or a documentary. And that's something that I would like to do. And what Katie is doing is creating a community. And that community will serve not only as a place to validate these experiences, but also perhaps as a kind of mass movement. And that movement can help people to realize that we are actually not just a spiritual movement. I think we're a socially and political movement. We can bring real change. And why now? I mean, for me personally, I can only speak about my own experiences. I think the last 15 years, well, the last 20 years since my own Kundalini experience has been the craziest part of human history. More and more people are beginning to realize that something is not quite right about reality or the world. And they don't have to have these transcendental experiences to realize that. Our systems are creaking and there's no one there who can provide answers. And I'm not saying that we on our own can provide answers, but my belief is, or our belief is that people having these experiences are actually bringing down, I would use the word information or wisdom that can be shared. And that wisdom is about change. It's about how we can collaborate. It's about how we can communicate. So ultimately, what the elephant is really the elephant in the room. It's the idea that we're refusing to talk about something, which is who we are as people. What is our purpose? What is the nature of reality? These existential questions that might seem a bit far removed from the everyday man or woman who has to earn a living or work to make a job to live. But actually, our suffering and our pain is one of the reasons why we need to understand these experiences, because they're bringing back wisdom and how we can heal, how we can perhaps collaborate to resolve conflict in ourselves and around the world. So what we're really saying is that although these might seem like individual or a small number of people having quite a niche experience, I think what we're seeing, and I'm saying this from my own experience working in a group called the Kundalini Collective, is there's a real growth of this phenomenon. And this growth is happening exponentially. So more and more people are coming to us with these experiences, and they're coming to us not just from having meditation or yoga experiences, but from breath work, from trauma, from psychedelics. And normally you wouldn't have a continuation of some kind of transcendental experience, but these experiences are becoming more sustained in people's lives. So the question, what we want to ask is, what is going on? What is happening? And what I've begun to see from the work I've been doing in the Kundalini Collective is that there are collective patterns emerging. One of the collective patterns is that people who have these transcendental experiences are beginning to subconsciously or consciously heal their own trauma in a way that no therapy can do. But this happened to me, and I will talk about that a bit later on, but it's happened to many people I've met. So the question is why is this happening to us? And the other point about that is that actually these experiences that help us to heal our own trauma, in my belief is that we can actually share this wisdom with others, and perhaps collectively we're actually bringing down a meta map of healing or a meta map of consciousness. So if we share our experiences, perhaps we can, let's say, grow this idea that consciousness is fundamental to our reality, that our experiences of oneness or about being at one with ourselves is actually about the nature of who we are as human beings. So what Elephant really is trying to do is bring us back to who we truly are and why we exist, but also in a time in history where there is a shadow that's emerging, and that shadow requires not conflict but collaboration and healing. And I believe that perhaps these experiences that we're all having is going to help us deal with that emerging shadow in a way that can be dealt with in a peaceful way. So, I sometimes think that maybe I'm deluded, but after 20 years of going through this, I've had so many positive experiences and I've met so many people now from across the world who've had these experiences, that something real is happening. And also people around the world who are understanding that there's something not quite right about the world, about the system, or about the nature of their reality. They're moving to quite dualistic mindsets, conspiratorial ideas. And what we can do is help them understand that actually perhaps their intuition is correct. Something is not right about reality, but actually the truth is inside you. And if we can help people get to that truth, then I think that's what the Elephant can do. So, yeah, I think I've covered that slide.
Thank you, Samir. Brilliant. Okay, so I guess many people on the call will kind of know this information, and that may be why you're here, but just a really quick synopsis for maybe people who are in that questioning stage and are not familiar with some of these terms or types of experiences, just a quick overview. So it's been really hard to decide what terminology to use for this project. There are lots of different ways of explaining these experiences, but we've gone for non-ordinary experiences and non-ordinary transformative experiences, I guess as a play on the word ordinary, because we want to, I guess, talk about with the film question what is, not like as Samir was saying, normality. So non-ordinary experiences refer to experiences that go beyond our individual personal perception or consciousness reality. We feel like we're having an experience that transcends our individual self, and they can occur spontaneously or be induced through traumas or spiritual practices or ingesting psychedelics, that kind of things. Non-ordinary experiences can be more low level, slow burn, multiple throughout life, where we kind of slowly open up to understanding beyond material reality. And not necessarily transformative. They don't necessarily shatter our worldview. Just to say that note, I really wanted to give a nod to William Broad, who first coined the term note. It was actually an acronym that stood for non-ordinary transcendent experiences, but we've kind of co-opted that acronym, and we are using the word transformative instead, because we believe that these experiences are incredibly transformative in terms of, particularly, in the Western world, who we are, who we believe we are, and what we've been led to believe about ourselves and reality, as Samir was saying. So some examples of these types of experiences can be ego dissolution, where we are led to feel this intense interconnectedness with all that is, everything, nature, reality, even as you'll see later, our kind of extremities dissolve and we become one in an energetic form with our environment. And not near-death experiences, Kundalini energy, as Samir was saying, very kind of Eastern philosophy around energetic meridians within the body being awoken. Often talked about going up the spine, paranormal activities, spirit communication, that kind of thing. Out of body experiences, which can be catalyzed through a traumatic event like a car accident, or where we're dissociated from our body. Out of body experiences can be catalyzed by trauma. There's a lot of us in childhood should kind of, I guess, consciously choose to leave our bodies because doesn't feel physically safe to be in our bodies. So it's a common thing for some children. We can consciously practice to do that through things like lucid dreaming, the psychedelic journeys, using entheogens. We might have low-level synchronistic type experiences, things like you think about someone, you've not seen them for years, and then they call you out of the blue, that kind of thing. Extrasensory communication, so these can be visual, auditory, or tactile. That's often gets spoken about. I remember when I used to work on acute psychiatric wards, people would often talk about feeling like they got spiders crawling over their body and that kind of thing. And also from peak or flow states that are achieved through things like dance or sex or watching, the sunrise, that kind of thing that can put us in a state of awe or in a feeling of that we're kind of in the flow of the universe. So non-ordinary transformative experience often catalyze, and I think this is what we're speaking to in Elephant with the documentary in particular, and what we want to create a space for with the community is, I think many of us that have these experiences where we feel this interconnected nature with the web of life, and we are part of humanity, we're not separate. We then are really called to do eco-socio-political work of some kind. So eudaimonia is a term for that, with its roots in Greek, the daimon, the divine will that comes through us, that I experienced in my spontaneous awakening. So yeah, the initiation of these experiences, and they can often get really blocked or suppressed, particularly if they're not validated. If somebody ends up in an extreme state and ends up in the mental health system, these things can get shut down. And as Samir said, we really believe that we're desperately in need of that wisdom that's trying to come through people, because it will be a benefit to humanity and the planet. So yeah, that is a little overview of kind of the context, I guess, and what we're talking about. So there are two elements, as Samir has said. We have the community, which I'm kind of leading on, and then the documentary, even though Samir and I are both kind of working on both things and very much talking to each other all the time about what's happening. So it's not that they're separate, and we want them to interweave. We really want, I'm not sure whether, and it may be that I just don't know about any other platforms, but so the community that we're creating is on a Mighty Networks platform. We really want it to be to weave together diverse disciplines, so really interdisciplinary perspectives on, philosophy, neuroscience, quantum science, anthropology. We need all of these fields to come together. And I don't know any other communities where everything's kind of pulled together and we're all weaving wisdoms and talking about these things in one space. I think there are many spaces where there are individual spaces for this kind of thing to be spoken about, but I'm not sure whether there's anything that brings everybody together from disparate fields. So I'm hoping that's kind of a bit of a unique thing about our platform. So there are two levels to the community platform. I wanted to share as well I just wanted to give a nod to a couple of friends from the Emerging Proud community. Jeanette, who has been a staunch supporter right from day one, from our launch in 2017, who supported me to set this up, because I'm a bit of a technophobe and it's been a bit of a nightmare trying to set the platform up. So it's very much a beta stage. You will receive an invite. We're going to open it to members tomorrow. So we'll share the link at the end of the call. For tier 1, it's free. So there's restricted ways to collaborate, but you can absolutely hang out on there, get updates from the blogs on what we're doing. Absolutely no need to join any further than that if you don't want to. There's ways to access resources. We're going to share some general kind of polls, and you can engage with each other through chat. And also share, that's the place where we'll share events. So we don't want to make this exclusive. There's also a membership level, a tier 2, which won't be open until the new year. I was intending on sort of it being New Year's Day, but I think because various things, we are a not-for-profit, we're using strange language that people aren't quite sure about. And also we've got an international community. The banks are like, not quite sure we want to give you a bank account. So we're having problems at the moment opening a bank account, which we need for this tier 2. So we're hoping to do that, sort that out within the next couple of weeks so that we can open this membership space. But we wanted to make it really accessible as well. So it'll be like price of a coffee really a month, £4.99 to join the whole thing, to really support us. And it's not for profit. So the money that we make will be paying to run the platform and to going towards making the documentary film and to keep things running. So this is kind of why we wanted to be transparent about what we're doing from the beginning. And if you remember, if you decide to subscribe, you will receive behind the scenes footage from the making of the film along the journey, the ups and downs, Mia's travels, that kind of things, who we're kind of interviewing. We also really want to invite collaboration for this part as well. So I will be interacting and listening to you. Like, what do you think? Where could we go with this? Who do you think we could interview? Like, really welcome any kind of ideas you might have as well along the way. So we will also be sharing podcasts monthly and interviews with people from the film or people with lived experience, wider kind of community experts, that kind of thing. There'll be a space, as there was on Emerging Proud, to share your stories, share your artwork. And we also want, sorry, I can't see the chat, by the way, whilst we're doing this. So if there's anything, that I will check it in the break just to make sure. And if I'm not missing anything, so apologies if there's something that needs to be responded to. And we also want this to be a space where, you know, often we get this elixir, right? So we go through these experiences like the typical hero's journey, and we come back with wanting to offer something that will help. So we really want this to be a space where you can bring your offerings as well, whether you do courses or whether you offer books, whether you offer one-to-one support. There will be a mechanism to apply to bring that into the platform, so you can freely kind of share your offerings as well. So yeah, this is a space where we can really come together and support each other. We all need wisdom from each other as well. None of us has the answers. Everyone's just got a part of the puzzle. And we also want to include a research vault to keep up to date on all of the interdisciplinary kind of information that might be going on. So if you're a researcher, please share your research in this area. There's not like a huge or like a catalogue already. We've got some links where you can find research in there, but we'll be sharing papers, and if you want to share papers, we'd love that. So that is the tier 2 and what you'll get from if you decide to join. So I'm going to hand over to Samir to give you a bit more information about the documentary.
So hi everyone again. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the film and how I got to it. So first of all, you know, if someone asked me a question, what is the film about? the film is about these transcendental experiences that we're calling non-ordinary transformative experiences and their implications. And I'll go into that in a minute. But my inspiration for making this film, and I'll take you back to 2006. I was working in London in film finance. My history was I was working in the city. I had no idea about this phenomenon, and I had really bad sciatica, so bad that I wasn't able to walk for a while. And so in that state, lying flat on my back, you get to ask these questions, and I turned 30 at that time. One of the questions that I asked myself is, why am I here? And I hadn't really been forced to ask these existential questions, but the pain of sciatica was so much, and I thought that I had to walk or I had to work, I had to walk, I had to do things, and I didn't understand my purpose. And at some point along that line, it began to dawn on me that maybe the pain is so bad, this is not necessarily, and nothing's working, no medicine was working on me. There's something emotional about this. And it began to click in me that I had an emotional issue. And that opened up something in me. And over a 6-month period, I kind of was able to get more in touch with my feelings and perhaps realize that there was something more to life than just this materialistic worldview. And I began to look at NLP. I had no background in this, I had no interest previously, and I thought I'd try meditation. One day I tried meditation, and I went back home, did it in my room, and I had this burst in my head. And over the next few days, my hands began to move spontaneously. My hands did mudras spontaneously. My back, which still had quite bad sciatica, began to actually heal because I was being put into the spontaneous yoga positions, and my breath would stop in places and lock and then move again. And something in me, even though I thought this was crazy, told me just to go with it. And because my back was getting better slowly, I thought, okay, this is interesting. But back in 2006, there was nothing about Kundalini. I didn't know what the word was. And so it took me a while to get to the understanding that there's actually a phenomenon that causes that manifests these. And then over a year, I followed this process. I had this amazing and non-dualistic experience in Egypt, which totally blew me off my feet. I wasn't prepared for it. And after that, I crashed. And something in me, this energy in me, took me through many, many years of learning to heal my own trauma and understand that. And then this is something that comes to me every day, that all suffering is love and all love is suffering. That I need to make peace with all of these things in my life that I feel causes me pain, because the pain is part of me. And that's something that only retrospectively, now that I understand, that this non-dual experience, an experience that helped me understand that space and time is one thing and it's a perception, it's not actually absolute. It helped me understand that the experience helped me understand, not intellectually, but through an instinctive reprogramming of my system, that my career isn't film, my career is actually trauma healing or healing of my pain. And because I didn't understand this, I fought every single day what was going on. And I fought the experience, I fought it because the major thing it does to you is it reprograms you to realize that the things in your life that are not good for you, which are all the things that you think are good for you have to let go of, and you don't want to do that. So without a support group, without the knowledge, without the wisdom, without teachers, I had to figure this out on my own, living in London, working in the film industry. And it was crazy. So after a few years of beginning to figure it out and realizing that I had to start a creative path, which took me into film school, I began to make sense of this. And the sense was that actually I have to surrender to this process. I have to keep surrendering to this process. And if I fight it, I will never, ever survive. So that helped me ground the experience, begin to integrate it. And this process took me to places of love that I never thought I could achieve. But at the absolute loss of everything I thought was valuable, and recognizing that my perception of value is an arbitrary idea, and that every time I ascribe value to anything real, I don't understand what I'm doing and I'm misvaluing it. And the first thing is my time. The most important thing is to value my time. And my time was to heal. And that means letting go of everything. Now, I thought I was unique in this experience, but obviously I'm not. And over time, after 11 years, I met a very good friend of mine now who's on the call called Alan in a really random way in a Kundalini meeting in London where there were 6 of us. And I thought, I'm going to try meeting other people for the first time, had this experience. And Alan was the only person that I thought, okay, this guy's genuine. Something's going on here. The rest of the group, we both felt, well, it was a bit of a kind of, it didn't feel like it was a Kundalini experience anyway. So Alan and myself became friends, and we thought we would start something ourselves in the UK. And we talked to someone called Bonnie Greenwell, who was well known in the States for writing books about Kundalini, and she put us in touch with people in the UK. We set up a support group, and we began to meet people, first in the UK and Ireland, and then from around the world. And I actually realized, okay, hang on a second. Some of these people are having experiences that are different to mine, but they're having the same journey and they're having the same conclusions. And the problem that we all face is that there's nobody writing the book about this. There's just a kind of phenomenal experience, and we're fighting to understand. And the other crazy thing is, none of us come from really spiritual backgrounds. We might be practicing subconsciously some spiritual practices, yoga, meditation, that we're doing it because we think this is how we want to kind of make peace with ourselves, but actually what we're doing is we're releasing stuff. So over the next few years, I began to meet tens, hundreds, and then online, perhaps thousands of people having these experiences. And obviously something is happening, and I believe it's not just happening to a few people. I believe it's happening to a lot of people. So it brings me to the film. I'm obviously a filmmaker, and it was the Kundalini experience that took me to film school. There's no way I would have gone to film school without it, because I was in my mid-30s and I thought, there's no way that I would ever be able to be a filmmaker. There's no way I should do this at this age. And I didn't make any films about these experiences until I met Katie, who Alan introduced us. And something sparked in our conversation, and we began to make a series of films called A Call to Awakening, which was kind of a response to the COVID crisis, looking at the COVID crisis as a bigger meta-narrative for an awakening experience, an ontological shock, a shock to our idea of reality. And, we thought we'd make a third film, but our lives took us in different directions. For me, between making A Call to Awakening, which I'm very proud of, thank you, Katie, and what we're doing with The Elephant, I began to understand, looking at a lot of podcasts, a lot of science, a lot of neuroscience, that actually the rest of the world is catching up with us. So from the perspective of physics, the Nobel Prize of Physics in 2022 was about quantum entanglement, the idea that all things are interconnected. They call it spooky, and the physicists don't want to judge what it means, but what it means is all things are connected. Everything is non-local. I read reports, declassified documents for the Defense Intelligence Agency that are 30 years old, that suggest that their research in the 70s and 80s also suggests the same things, and you can look it up yourself. I looked at the work of Margie Woollacott, a neuroscientist who looks at these expanded states, talking about the default mode network that shuts down and that the brain begins to open up when you have these experiences. Katie introduced me to the philosopher Bernardo Kastrup, who's leading the way, suggesting that the nature of reality is non-material, and the implications about that are phenomenal. Because if it's true, it means that everything we do has repercussions. Every action we take has meaning across time and space. So all the spiritual scriptures, all of the Vedic scriptures actually model reality correctly. And what we need to do now is join the dots between the personal experiences people are having and these kind of more academic and philosophical conversations, because actually, and I know many people are not a fan of Joe Rogan, but I unfortunately am. He has 10 million views and people are talking about these topics now and people are responding to it. I think the world is ready to understand what is going on, but I also think the people who are having these experiences need to have a collective voice. And that collective voice has to say, we exist and we are bringing something to the table here. So the film is part of a movement. The community is a movement. And actually what we want to do is mainstream these experiences in a way which at least will begin to start a conversation that can create real change. And a good example here, well, some people might not think it's a good example, but I think it is in 2017, the New York Times covered for the first time seriously the topic of UFOs in America. And I personally believe that the UFO topic is about consciousness. A lot of people do see it that way. So I think it's a parallel story to what we're going through. But they covered it and it changed the game. And in America, they're talking about it in Congress, but also there's research and funding going into this. But this is the thing. The only way to get research and funding, the only way to get the conversations talking about this topic is to begin for all of us to start talking about it together, to share our stories. Now, from a film perspective, if I can take a snapshot of those stories, and I would like to make it, let's say, a global story. So not just a kind of white Western idea, but look at the stories from South Africa with the San tribe from the Kalahari. Look at what's going on in India and Tibet. Look at the tribes like the Kogi tribe in Colombia, where they all have models of reality that are non-material, and they all have ways to get into this transcendental state. And to look at a global story of transcendence, I can't say that word, and bring it together as a kind of story of one global culture that has different portals to this experience. But actually in 2024, 2025, and 2026, which I think is a key year here, is understanding that actually the sharing of information and wisdom traditions and the fact that we are subconsciously bringing these practices into our recreational kind of platforms, where be it dancing, psychedelics, yoga, meditation, is actually we're beginning to share wisdoms, cross-collateralized wisdoms into one kind of massive opening. And that's what's going on. So the film is going to be a snapshot of this, but try and tell real human stories of, say, 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 people around the world. And then use academic research, look at the research around the world, philosophy, science, physics, especially physics, neuroscience, psychology, and try and support their emotional real life journeys with the research and join the dots. And I think the argument is already being won. I think the nature of reality isn't what we think it is. And the other thing that's probably more important for the everyday human being living on the planet is that actually the moment we realize that we're all connected and that our trauma is part of who we are, but actually we need to look at our trauma as something to face, but obviously face being held in the right context and being held safely. But we can only create these safe spaces with political and community will. And that will only change with the knowledge and wisdom of this practice and this phenomenon out there. So I guess the film is actually part of an activist movement, I think. And what we'd like to do, hopefully, is not just use the footage in a kind of 90-minute feature film. I like to do that, but take the individual interviews and share them, maybe take footage not used, but create small films about slightly different topics. So we want to use that footage wisely. And then and I wrote some notes here about the idea would be to shoot a short film. So I've already started, and we'll show you a clip in a minute. And that 10-minute film would show at Katie's event in May. And then we'll start a crowdfunding campaign to hopefully shoot a documentary feature, of which we could roadshow that feature online, possibly because wellness is a very popular section in Netflix and Amazon, try and get distribution with Amazon or Netflix. But actually that footage tells a much bigger story, and we want to share that footage in different ways. So it doesn't have to just be a feature film. It can be, we can use some footage in short films, we can use clips, just get that message out there. Yeah, sorry, I rambled on a bit, so I'll stop there.
No, it's great, Samir. I was just unmuting so that you could hear the audio for the clip.
Yeah. Do you want to, yeah, so I'm happy to play the clip. Yeah.
Let me know if you can see this, because I know sometimes it doesn't. Can you see this blank screen? No?
Not yet, no.
Okay. Can you see it now? No.
You may have to minimize the stop sharing and then reshare again with the clip.
Yeah, sorry. I'm not good at this, am I? Right. The suspense. Okay, is that working now?
Okay, but before you play, I just want to say that we started shooting a really wonderful lady called Tam last week who's sharing her experience. It's quite emotive. So just to be clear, she shares some emotive stuff, so be prepared for it. She had a non-dual experience, and because I've only shot for one day, and I want to thank my wife Nazira, by the way, for holding the second camera here. But we shot one day, so just showing you a 5 minute clip from, and it's unedited really because I haven't cut anything out of it, of her non-dual experience. But obviously the documentary is going to be a documentary format, but this is just an idea of where we can go with it.
Yeah, and just huge gratitude for Tam as well.
Yeah. Okay.
Actually one of my research participants, so it's all very synchronistic.
I'll try this. So I was wandering around just like I'd been before, and the cliff it kind of become my second home, really, standing on the edge of the cliff and looking and wondering whether I was going to kill myself. And I was quite confused now because I didn't know what this strange feeling of wanting to live was all about. And that shook everything up. It put everything in a different perspective. So I was standing on the cliff edge, and I was looking out, and I was looking at that particular rock that I'd spoken about before. And the waves were crashing in all directions, and there was that feeling of like it was all boiling, and it was like a mouth that was open, ready to receive me. And it wasn't a hostile mouth. It was just like, I'm here whenever you're ready. And I felt actually as though there was something really nurturing about that willingness of the sea and the rocks to take me, because it felt like if I did jump, there was no doubt that my body would break on the rocks, and then the sea would take me in. So I was standing there and I was thinking these thoughts and looking at my resilient rock that was being battered by the waves still, and seemed to have such a strong message. And I was this little tiny person looking down and looking for answers, really, about, what do I do now? Who am I now? What am I here for? And suddenly everything changed, and this is where words are going to be so difficult again. So I was already feeling that belonging to the landscape, and I felt as though the landscape was teaching me. It had so many lessons for me, and it was teaching me about life and death and my place in everything. And so I was looking at that particular rock, and suddenly there was no me that was looking at the rock anymore. It was beyond that merging that I'd had before. I just was the rock. And there was no me. And I was the waves. And something was experiencing all of this, but I wasn't conscious of that something at the time. I became the rock first, and this is how I remember it. It may well be, I'm trying to put into words something that can't be put into words, and I'm trying to remember something from a reality in which I have to process in such a different way. So I don't know if my memories are accurate, but as I remember it, I became the rock, and then I became the waves, and I became the grass that I was standing on, and I became the wind, and I was aware of sounds and I became the sounds, and it was in my memory, I was aware of everything that exists on the earth and beyond the earth, and I was all of those things, and also I was nothing, and all of those things were nothing. It was like there was a sense of everything and nothing. It was more nothing. It's so difficult to explain, but I was a part of all of that, but none of that existed. Actually, none of it existed. None of it was real. There was only energy, and it was that essence that I'd longed to escape from my body, that I'd felt was trapped inside me, and I had to break my body open in order for that essence to escape. That was part of it as well. And this everything, nothing energy that had no actual substance was what I had been longing for my essence to become part of.
Oof.
Can I just say, I should say that the reason we were using a pastel drawing was because what I've realized, even with my own experiences, a lot of us find it difficult to talk about these experiences. The words just kind of leave us. And so we talked about how we would have filmed something that's indescribable. And we came with the idea of starting with her just sketching out that experience, and that would trigger something. So with it, between the kind of the art therapy and the conversation, it sparked something in her. So that's why we did it that way. And we might do that way. We might try similar techniques with other people, hopefully.
Thank you, Samir. I'm just really aware of the time. I think we could spend 2 hours actually, but we've got half an hour. So we're going to take a really quick comfort break. So 5 minutes. That's okay with everybody. If you could just come back at well, yeah, 5 minutes. That would be amazing. Thank you.
Katie. Hi, Katie. You see me?
Hi, Chi. I
Hi,
can.
hi. Okay, I just wanted to say hi because I had to drop off.
Okay.
But also, have you ever heard of Erin Worley?
No, can we?
Oh,
No, I need to do something now. So,
okay, that's fine.
I'm
Uh,
so glad you're here. But can we?
no, go do your go do
Later?
your stuff. I will send you some information.
Thank you.
Okay,
All right.
in the WhatsApp. Thank
Take
you so
care.
much. Okay,
Bye.
bye. Bye, everyone.
Time goes quickly when you're in another reality, doesn't it? Hi, Mick. Hi, Josh. Hi, Karen. I've seen lots of Chrissy,
Katie.
Leah, Ruth, Emma, lots of Ellie. Hiya. Okay, so now I am having to surrender to the process because for some reason the option to set up breakout rooms isn't here. So I'm guessing that is telling us that we need to stay in our herd for the rest of the time. I'm just going with the flow. Unless you want to do that, Samia, your end.
Yeah, sorry, I couldn't hear until the last 5 seconds. So could you repeat that?
Oh, I was just saying having to surrender to the flow because for some reason the setting up breakout spaces isn't
Okay.
available. So
Yeah.
I'm just taking that as a sign we need to stay together.
Yeah.
Yeah, so thank you everyone for the all of the great resources in the chat. I haven't had a chance to look through it, but we will save the chat and circulate that with the recording. So I'm just going to screen share for the rest of the just some guidelines for the rest of the session, which we have shared a few times, but just to remind all of us. Oops, sorry, I've still got the chat there. Can you see that okay? So we do have a participation agreement on the community site, just the usual kind of agreement requests in order that we can hopefully we can never create, I don't even know whether we can use the term safe space anymore, but as a brave and safe enough as safe as possible a space together as possible. So yeah, respecting confidentiality. I mean, obviously this recording will be shared, so please bear that in mind, particularly now we're not going into breakout spaces. So just bearing in mind not to share, just be really mindful about how much you share in terms of what you want to go out publicly. So taking care of yourself as a priority. And also the impact on other people, I guess, as well. Only sharing from a place of I, so not offering any advice to anyone. Respecting differences of opinions, experiences, identities. I don't like Joe Rogan and I still like Samia, so there we go. We can disagree and still get on. Taking space and making space. So if you're usually somebody that doesn't speak a lot, feel free to take space and try and be brave if that feels okay. And if you're used to speaking a lot on these kind of things, if that's comfortable for you, try and make space for others who might want to speak, who maybe are nervous to do so if they want to. And yeah, it's about, I guess, being as brave as we can together as well. So that is our agreement for the next 20 minutes. Does that sound okay to everyone? Is there anything that anybody feels that you would like to add, or anything feeling uncomfortable about that? Okay. So, oh, that was the thing. I need to share the next slide. Now I'm not going into breakout spaces. I lost track of what we're doing. Share some questions here. So we'll do it all. I guess we'll do it all in one, seeing as we're not going out into breakout spaces. Does anything resonate? I think from the chat we can safely say it's resonating with a lot of people. I think maybe we need to be careful not to share details about individual experiences here because there's a lot of people and not a lot of time. So if you want to just briefly kind of share an overview about thoughts on the project or whether it connects with anything with you as a real brief overview, that's great, but not to go into any detail about your personal experience. And there will be plenty of opportunities for that. Hopefully within the community we'd like to start some sharing spaces, to make some spaces for people, particularly if you are, I know for me and a lot of people I speak to are kind of experiencing this real moral injury at the moment in terms of needing to work in the old paradigm ways when we know it's broken, we know things are wrong, but actually having to, be part of the system we don't want to be part of because we have to pay our bills and live in this paradigm that's crumbling at the moment. And that can bring with it a lot of, pain and discomfort. So there may be an opportunity to create some spaces to talk about that as well. And I know lots of places are doing this, so we just want to make sure, we want to really hear from you, and maybe this is the most important thing now, is the Q&A. Like, do you want us ask us anything that we've not covered properly? And what would you like to get from being part of this community? Does it interest you being part of it? What would you really like to see us do? And it might be that we can't, offer everything that everybody wants, but we'll try our best. So yeah, over to you guys. Either feel free to type in the chat or put your hand up if you want to share something. We've still got 37 people on the call, so just being mindful of time as well. And we've got 20 minutes.
I think Maureen put her hand up.
Hi, Maureen.
Hi, it's so exciting, Katie. I don't know if you remember meeting me, but I remember meeting you, and it's years ago, and I'm just thrilled to see what you're up to now. And I typed in the chat lots of times, I'm resonating. I'm doing cartwheels. I'm thrilled. I don't be your first subscriber. You go. And maybe you could have a third tier of people who want to be sponsors and pay you more,
Oh my gosh! Wow! This is
Yeah.
like music to our ears. Thank you, Maureen. I remember your name and your face, but I can't remember where we met. So
I don't remember. We had a meeting online. It was it was great.
Okay,
So thank you so much for all your work.
Well, we will
Thank
be
you.
running a crowdfunder, so there'll be plenty of opportunities to donate towards the making of the film if people feel so called. We would obviously really love that. So thank you, Maureen. Appreciate that. Yeah, and Natalie, thank you. That your research around cultural U-turns is really important. So when you join the platform, people, please do share any of this. It might be that I'm feeling a little bit overwhelmed with content I need to add, so really want this to be participatory as well, but I'll try and follow up everything. Anybody kind of not sure, got any questions, thinking, that's not really what I would like or what I need, or Samir, do you want to add anything else?
No, I'm quite curious to know what people think.
I think it's amazing. Oh, sorry, I just saw Leah, you've got your hand up. I'll let you go because I'm normally a speaker, so I'm happy to fill the gap, but I'm also happy to let someone else.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Yeah, I want to echo my appreciation for this project and the just incredible vision. And I just imagine this sort of like international group of people with nose just like up to the best kind of trouble, like just disrupting the things that need to be disrupted and nurturing the things that need to be nurtured. So yeah, I have been so excited about this from the moment I first heard about it from you, Katie. Yeah, I just had a question. I was really just loving the concept for the film and just like the scope of it. And I was wondering, Samir, either of you, have you thought about like making this into like a series, like a docu-series? Because it just seems like there's so much there, and really kind of just so many topics and so many interconnecting ways of understanding this. So yeah, I just was curious about that, if you had thought about expanding it somewhat.
Yeah, so I think in an ideal world, well, I think there's two answers to this. The answer is yes. I think in an ideal world, there's too much content to put into a 90-minute film. I do think we're living in a world now where content is consumed in many different ways, and so the way you can use it in different ways. So we could make a film and make a series. But obviously the problem or the barrier to this is resources, because filming around the world and editing, let's say 200 hours of footage is a lot of time. So that if we could raise the funds, and perhaps that's another conversation, we haven't really gone down that road yet. I just want to make a short proof of concept. But if we can raise the funds, then yes, the ideal situation would be to perhaps break it down and look at it in a more piecemeal process. However, that all depends, when we get to the crowdfunding part. But what I would say is that whatever we shoot, I don't want to waste footage. So even if we do make a feature film, and a feature film has its own merit, I think we would like to use the footage in other ways, just so that we don't waste that footage and that information is out there. How that will happen, I don't know. But at the basic level, you could just put out the interviews, or you could, if you want to choose a topic, for example, shamanism, you could have one about shamanism in expanded states or about psychedelics. Again, it's just resources, time. But my ideal situation would be to look to visit people, the indigenous elders around the world, and I'm quite excited by this idea, and actually gather that information on camera and sound and try and put it all together. And that's a project, that's a real undertaking. So I'm trying to be, what's the word? I'm trying to be realistic, but yes, there's a lot of information that you could put into film. So how and where it turns up, I don't know, but hopefully we'll get the right balance.
Thank you. Thank you, Leah. Oh gosh, yeah, love your support, love the activism. Thank you for that. I mean, I think, yeah, it's about putting it out on multiple channels in multiple ways, I guess, isn't it? And I'm just trusting. It's interesting how Samir and I work together. I'm very much the feminine flow, like we'll let it organically evolve, and Samir's like the banks of the river, so I think we're working quite well together. So just want to go to a couple I'll come back to you, Leanna. Just want to go to a couple of things in the chat. Alan said, really thank you for asking this, Alan, because I think that's a really important point, is we want to make this as inclusive as possible. We don't want it to be an exclusive club for people that have had a note or a no. So if people are questioning or, curious, or they're in this existential angst themselves, please, we want this to be a supportive space where they can come and hear the stories of people and learn how people have integrated and kind of, come through. So we really want to make sure. And also Mirabai, yes, that was kind of, I think my thinking was, these spaces where we're talking about expanded consciousness, but also this grounded, like, I love Jorge Ferrer's work around participatory turn, where he talks about horizontal spirituality, where we apply it in a really like grounded way to do eco-socio-political work. So this is definitely a space to integrate the two things. Lisa, I'll come to you in a sec, but I just want to give a chance for Leanna to speak. Is that okay?
Yeah, I just wanted to say I'm just so like wowed and awestruck by this vision. And I've only just recently I've known about Emerging Proud, but I was never part of that network, and it's only just recently I've really met Katie online. And but you guys probably know about a film called Crazy Wise that was out a number of years ago. So I felt that was a really powerful film, just bringing these topics to the mainstream really, and making it a bit more just accessible in that way. And I think that's so important, that we open up these conversations in a way that feels non-threatening. To spark people's curiosity, because something that I'm aware of is that when we can be curious, there isn't any space for fear. And one of the massive barriers that I've come across in my journey, my experience, has been being met with fear when I'm in these kinds of states. So yeah, I think that this is going to be amazing to continue this work and the dialogue. And I don't think it's about normalizing, because actually what is normal anyway, but I just think it's about allowing an unfolding. And like you said, it's so important for our collective evolution at this time. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Leanna. Yeah, I really appreciate that. And actually, we've spoken to Phil Borge. I've been friends with Phil Borge for about 10 years, and this is kind of, we wanted to make sure he was okay with what we're doing because it's in the same ballpark as Crazy Wise, as you say, and he's really supportive. He's actually agreed to be a consultant for us, and I think we're taking it one step further. We're kind of, Crazy Wise covered this really well, but they didn't talk about quantum science or consciousness being fundamental. So we're kind of going one step beyond. And also, I guess it's a synthesis of the wisdom of trauma that Gabor Mate did with Sand, and Crazy Wise kind of merged with a bit of quantum science thrown in. Yeah, being a bit adventurous. But Lisa, I just want to come back to you. Sorry, I'm not following everything. Everyone's like
No, I actually didn't mean to put my hand up, so that was kind of by default. I was fiddling with that, but just to say, I mean, I know nothing about this, but have had my own experiences, and it's really exciting. I'm really excited about this. It's important as somebody quite new to it, you know, that it was made accessible, that you explained everything in the beginning. I don't know a lot of the research and stuff behind it. You know, my journey through the mental health system, you suddenly find there's something more than diagnoses. And then you're working through that and you realize there's actually something so much more about this that is just a common human experience that brings something. But I had nowhere really to learn more about that or realize that all of this was happening. So I think it's a bit daunting because I know so little. But I also know my own experience, and it resonates, you know, listening to what's going on here. So I think it's really needed and really good in terms of our work. I think, you know, when you're bringing that heart soul work into this, it can also feel quite isolating sometimes, and trusting and going back to that. So I think for me, that's what I would be looking for in terms of this, as well as just that confirmation, validation, access to resources and things, and even just that nourishment to continue on the path, because it's, you know, that it's bringing something more. So yeah, thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Lisa. I really appreciate you sharing as well that it didn't feel exclusive, because I was kind of, when you started to speak, I thought, oh, maybe, you know, we were speaking to people or speaking to the converted. So really want anybody that's, yeah, not familiar with this to feel so welcome. So yeah, space to come and learn. And, you know, a lot of us will have been in that place of absolute loneliness, and yeah, and it comes in waves as well. You know, I still go, you know, it's not like we're on this sort of linear, wonderful journey now. It's life still happens. So it's a space to support each other through, you know, other layers of emergence as well. Yeah, thank you. Beth, hi. Hey.
Hi, Katie. Thank you very much. And hi, Samir, and hi, Alan, and everybody else that I don't already know. I just wanted to kind of chime in and say that I feel like the instrument of film is such a powerful one to use because people can take it in so readily. And I had an example of it a little bit earlier today. I was on a call where a woman by the name of Betty Kovacs, who has done a lot of research into non-ordinary experiences and her own growth from that and her own perspective on that. Anyway, she's had a film put together that's related to her most recent book called Emergence of Light. And the film is about 60 minutes long. And it has been posted on YouTube since early September, and as of today has almost 1 million views. So I feel like that I was surprised when I saw that number. It was 987,000 something today when I watched it. And I just thought, you know, that's a great example of the power of something that is easier for people to take in. And Betty does also a beautiful job of kind of laying out chronologically the fact that our current kind of limited materialistic structure is not our history. It's not our birthright. It's not human. It has nothing to do with humanity's growth or origins, I should say. But it is something that is a aberration, and an unhealthy aberration at that. So I'll leave it at that. I won't go rambling on, but I feel like there's like her piece puts a lot of history behind what this effort right here is about.
Amazing. Thank you, Beth. I'd actually just seen that today, like heard of that today. So I appreciate you sharing. And yeah, I think it's about, bringing lots of Bettys together, and like we're creating this momentum because like you say, it's had so many views, so many people are thirsty for this now, aren't they, wanting this. So it is a movement, I think, as Samir said. Hi, Chrissy. Oh, you're muted.
Hello. You mentioned activism and wanting to change the system from inpatient to a more of a peer respite, spiritual emergence center planned communities. I'm hoping to see this too. I recently had to leave a job because of another medical issue. And I'm noticing that with peer support, it seems to not be genuine in the Western medical model. It seems like we're just there to make the system look good rather than really utilizing us the way we could be utilized. And I'm just wondering, and I know this is probably a big question, but where you see that going as far as the peer respite plans.
Thanks, Chrissy. Yeah, I really hear you. So I work for a lived experience organisation that train the peers in the NHS in the UK. And we talk a lot about, and actually they're amazing, IMROC. They are very progressive in terms of like talking to peers, and I've just developed a module around alternative approaches, including like different transcultural approaches and spiritual emergence. But then the problem is the peers go back into the system to work where they're not safe to talk about this stuff. So I really hear you around that. I think for me, it's going to be about Soteria's research. So the research will be for a field research for the next year, starting in January, looking at the need for these type spaces. And then we hope after that there will be a funded pilot. So that's kind of where I'm focusing. I'm not sort of directly involved. I'm going to be part of the community research team, but it makes me hopeful. I think, we have to bridge, don't we? We have to get evidence. That's the problem. It's the world we're living in. Unless someone knows a philanthropist where we can start creating something, on the Elephant platform, come up with something, then we're all ears for that. But yeah. Thanks, Maureen. Okay, thank you, Chrissy, and really feel the pain around that. I really hear you. And I think that's, there's lots of mad activists that I'm connected to as well in that space, the peer space, who are coming together and going, yeah, we kind of know this stuff and we're not being heard. So hopefully this will be a space to talk about that. You might want to create a peer space on the platform if that feels comfortable. So we really want to make it, that it's yours to do something with as well. And I know there's a really important piece around somatic work and being in touch with our bodies and our emotions. And I know Ellie's here who does amazing work in that as well. So yeah, I just really want to invite everyone to bring your elixirs to the platform and share your offerings. Oh God, blockchain technology. I have no idea, Josh, about that. So clueless. Kiri Farm, yes. Yeah, gosh, so much stuff. We've got 2 minutes. I want to share the last slide with the link, and Samir's got a little teaser clip to show you with a nice uplifting end as well. So anybody got any last minute burning thing to say before we go to the final? Cool, thanks, Chrissy. Thanks everyone so much for being here, and it's just so uplifting. We had no idea how this was going to go, and just to hear the enthusiasm from all of you is so reassuring, because we are investing in this personally at the moment, and it's a massive risk, but yeah. That's the only way, isn't it? We look like, who was it? I was listening to a podcast and they were saying we say they'll do it, and then we look around and it's like there is no them, there's only us. So we've got to do it ourselves, and we can only do it by coming together, right? In a herd. So I'm going to share the final slide. And also, Samir, is there anything you want to end with before we?
Well, I mean, firstly, just say thank you to everyone for coming, and it's really nice to feel that there's a place that we can share these experiences. I mean, we're showing up on this Zoom call, and it's being received. And I guess the other thing is just for you all to realize that we hope with this particular community that you can feel that you can share these experiences, and that part of you that might feel alone or might feel a little bit lost can be expressed in any way, shape, or form you like. We want to have a place where you can be creative at how you express these experiences. It doesn't have to be with words. So if you can help our community grow and share it, I think that's the key. So the word that comes to me now is hope. My hope is it brings hope to all of us and to others who are going to be joining us in the future, because they will be having these experiences.
Beautiful. Thank you, Samir. Second that. And I just want to say I'm really grateful to you as well, Samir, for coming together and trusting me and doing this, doing this together. It's really lovely. So
thank you.
Shall we end with your?
Yeah, I better just say that we just made this is an animation made just to bring some joy rather than pain, because this is a difficult and challenging experience where it takes people to dark places. But the hope is that the tone of the site will be an expression of joy, because we can release these experiences and flow into whoever we're meant to be by being able to express ourselves. So it's a very short animated idea of what this platform and community and film could be. And I need to give a shout out to my friend who's not here, Ed, who helped me with some VFX, and it's been made with AI animation and AI music. So I've been experimenting with that, and my friend Ed, who does the VFX.
Oh, I've left the chat on again. Sorry.
Did you turn music on, Kate?
Yeah.
Okay.
There we go. You packed a lot into 60 seconds there, Samir. Brilliant. Thank you so much, everyone. Yeah, I really appreciate your participation.
Thank you.
Love and engagement. Yeah, grateful. And we're looking forward to seeing where this journey takes all of us. And we really hope that you will join the herd. What was your phrase, Jeanette? That was your phrase on the slides. One elephant is strong, but a herd is unstoppable. Yeah. Yeah.
One nice thing about the platform is people can build their own little groups on special interests. Whatever fires you up, you can find other people to talk about it with and share it.
We should also say that some people are going to help us. Alan's going to help us with some of the what's it called, moderation and helping to form groups. Jeanette hopefully will. So maybe
my friend Wendy is also who is a huge emotional support for me, and I often have meltdowns with on WhatsApp. So I'm very grateful to Wendy as well. And just we're all human, muddling through this journey together with ups and downs, and we kind of want to do it together. So yeah, I think we are pretty much there. So we'll share the chat. We will Willie, how can you contact us? You should be able to respond to the emails on Eventbrite, or via the platform. We're both hosts, so you can message us via the platform. You can join for free. And please invite anyone that you think this may resonate with to the platform as well. So we will love you and leave you. Thank you, everyone.